Welcome to another edition of the iDS Talks podcast. This is our Transatlantic Tea Time podcast, where I'll be talking with my friend and colleague, LaTulippe, about a new initiative for him in 2023 and the launch of D3 or D cubed, delightfully digestible data. Today, we'll be talking to Tim specifically about 2023 trends. And if you're interested in receiving D3, we'll share the details with you later in the podcast. Let me start us off. Welcome to 2023, my friend.
And thank you for that warm welcome, Mr. Sachs. Happy New Year to everyone. Bonne année, etc. Welcome to a new year, and hopefully it's better than 2022 in some respects.
Hallelujah. So you started off 2023 with, well, you gave us a teaser, I think, at the end of 2022, but this D cubed or delightfully digestible data updates that you're sending over to the community in the UK and the rest of Europe. Tell us all about it.
Sure. The idea there was to get information out to our community. So people we know tangentially, people we'd like to know better. And the whole concept there was to take quite a lot of fast moving, high volume information out there and make it digestible. Too often people are inundated on LinkedIn via news blasts and that sort of thing. So we decided to go to a little more of a basic format and use kind of a simple email outreach framework. So every, month or so, could be more, could be less, we push this delightfully digestible data sort of article out to people. And it covers things that we've seen that might be interesting, cases that we've personally worked on, however sanitized that information might be. It might cover trends in certain sectors of the legal space or areas outside of law altogether that might rely upon data interrogation to solve challenges. But the idea is to kind of make it humorous and I've said it multiple times, but digestible. It's got to be something that people want to engage in, that doesn't make them fall asleep and gets them kind of soundbite bits of information so they know what's going on, that's been synthesized by kind of experts and consultants in our firm so that they don't have to do all of the heavy lifting there.
Yeah, I see in your January edition, it's, I think there's 4 or 5 topics, no more than a paragraph, maybe a shorter second paragraph, but really concise, little bite-size, digestible, as you say, pieces of information for people to share. One of the things I liked about it, frankly, is that I believe everyone who receives it is on a BCC. So it's not as if everyone's email address is being shared. So it's kind of discreet. Obviously intentional on your part, correct?
Correct. We're pretty cognizant of data privacy and protection in Europe and don't really want to be sharing other people's PII around and information if we can avoid it. And also nobody wants that nasty reply all business going on. So it tends to go to people we know pretty well, or at least peripherally. We're not getting some giant list of people we don't know and sort of throwing this information at them. This is a little more community driven than that.
Which means it's not taken, email addresses are not taken from a list. You're not, as you say, blasting the world. So those who are already getting it, lucky. Those who want to get it, reach out to you, message you on LinkedIn, and they get added to the list, Tim?
That's it. Yep. It's happened a few times. Some of our friends and clients have flicked it on to someone in their firm or their company and said, hey, may I receive this the next time you do one, or something like that. So it's fairly organic that way.
I think that's great. Like I said, I've enjoyed it. So since this is our first delightfully digestible data recording podcast together, and we've laid out kind of what it's going to look like going forward. For those who didn't get January's edition, and it is the one that's going to start the year off, you chose to focus on some of the trends of what you expect to happen perhaps here in 2023. So in a digestible couple of words, What are those trends?
That's a great question. So we sort of broke it down into a couple of sections. Again, very bite sized. But the first thing we looked at was litigation. This is something our firm works on internationally quite a lot. We sort of got the impression from putting our ear to the ground, chatting to lots of contacts and friends in the community, whether they be working for auditors, law firms, companies, funders, all kinds of institutions. The sense that we get is that insolvency litigation is going to play a big part of 2023. I don't think that's unique to the UK and Europe. That's probably more international than that, if I had to guess. Some markets will be further along in that. The UK has quite a reputation and a plethora of insolvency type litigation, and there's quite a lot of skilled practitioners here in that arena. So it tends to be an area where we see a fair bit of that. Also, speaking of London, insurance litigation and claims defense will probably continue, not just this year, but onward for the foreseeable future. London being the sort of international hub of insurance with the Lloyd's syndicates here. So there's going to be a lot more cases we suspect and gather from our colleagues in the market around, breach of contract and warranty around the COVID-19 pandemic, were funds provided for PPE to certain institutions if they had the right cover, these sorts of things. I suspect all things COVID related will persist not only this year, maybe kick up in earnest this year, but will likely persist in the years to come.
Tim, related to the COVID type litigations, I mean, specifically, furlough fraud is something that, frankly, we've talked about before and was something that we believed was going to be much more prevalent in 2022. Is that a trend, do you think, in 2023 we might start seeing?
I would say I would cautiously say yes, because there are actually a number of firms around us in the UK who, as of, I think even this week or last week, are starting to put on their own webinars and sessions to the public regarding furlough fraud. It is not an issue that evaporated. I think Dan Ruprecht and our team and a couple others were quite novel and ahead of this by at least 18 months, kind of forecasting a future problem that involved data. But the concept there for anyone who's listening is really trying to understand the issues around the furlough fraud in general. So just leveraging data to understand, if people were working when they said they were working, these sorts of things. I won't get into the nitty gritty of it, but it's an interesting topic that we're going to pay attention to.
Nitty gritty, not quite so digestible.
Right.
One other trend that I found interesting, because as I talk to other people in different organizations and they share about how their employees are communicating with each other, is a possible trend in the area of collaborative communication platforms, and not work taking place and communications taking place not through email as much, but through these other channels.
Yeah, I think that's right, Jonathan. And I think the pandemic situation forced the hand quite a lot. People were already using Slack, Trello, Teams, you name it, to collaborate. We work with quite a few younger organizations. I say younger in quotes that you can't see. I mean, they could be sub 10 years old. That's what I'm qualifying as younger, that have grown, have many rounds of funding, do a great job, hire a lot, but never really moved away from those easy to use platforms. And now they're finding themselves subject to regulatory scrutiny, DSARs, all kinds of different issues. And they don't really have a plan to navigate that data or deal with it. I think one of the upsides of working for iDS, among the many, is that we do have a team of consultants and database driven people who can help make this data clean and reviewable, sort of alongside contemporaneous things like email, contracts, regular electronic documents, that sort of thing. It's also a trend that's I think goes beyond the pandemic. I think a couple of things are happening at once here. And I think you've got the young end of the millennials, which are the people a bit younger than myself. You've got the, I don't know what you call them, Gen Z, Gen Z here in the UK. And then the people even younger that have never, ever communicated with something as arcane as an email. And they communicate exclusively on social media type chats, FaceTime, WhatsApp audio messages. They don't type things out the way we used to. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how that progresses, not only in 2023, but again, the many years ahead.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, listen, I appreciate you sharing some of the trends for 2023. Appreciated the background to your decubed or delightfully digestible data. So, Tim, happy 2023. Looking forward to many more of these.
And you, my friend, I'll be seeing you in London shortly, I hope.
If you'd like to learn more about IDS or to sign up for Tim's D3 newsletter, visit idsinc.com. You can find Tim's contact information there on his page, including his LinkedIn address. Thanks again to Tim, and we'll see you the next time on IDS Talks.